The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting group. Access Fort Wayne is a department of the Allen County Public Library. If you or anyone you know might be interested in making a television show, please call 260-421-1250.
Hi, Dr. Rudy Kachmann. Thanks for tuning in the show. This is going to be interesting today. We're going to take a bite into it. Oh, okay. This is about your teeth and health. You're going to find this to be fascinating. And it is based partially, probably 75% of it, on a book which you see demonstrated here, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration by Weston A. Price. And this book was published originally in 1938. Yes, I've never spoken to a dental hygienist or a dentist ever read this book, or medical doctor, because how to prevent disease is largely as to what you eat. And it should have been required reading even in the medical school, no less than dental school. Yes, I've probably spoken to 30, 40 dentists and dental hygienists. Not one of them even heard of this book. Published in 1938. He was a dentist in Cleveland, Ohio. Yes, then traveled around the world and looked at many nations and tribes and people in isolated places, and to realize what they were eating and what their teeth looked like. And then he took pictures of them, and they're all in this book. It's a fascinating, fascinating book. So the name of it, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration by Weston A. Price. And you, if you want to read this, don't necessarily have to buy the book, but you can buy the PDF of it. And it's now, and what he's saying is man's rise and fall has been a measure of his ability to learn and obey nature's laws of life. That's a quote from Weston A. Price. Yes. Life in its fullness is nature obeyed. Wow, wow. That's a quote from the back of his book. Your body isn't what I say. Your body is an orchestra, and you're the conductor. You can decide what you're going to do. All your organs are an orchestra, and you are the leader. What you is what will decide what the orchestra, the music that it plays. And isn't that beautiful? So what he did is he was a dentist and looking at people's teeth, and he saw the diseases, and he also did scientific research. He was in Cleveland, but originally it started in Canada and eventually moved. His practice was in a house 3 stories high. 4 of the dentists worked for him. And then he saw all these diseases coming from your teeth, coming from your teeth. And so I understood pretty good. Although, let's start this talk with a laugh. I didn't learn to brush my teeth till I was in college. Yes, my parents never said to do it. And fraternity brother walked up to me and says, "Rudy, brush your teeth. We have a bunch of girls coming over." Fortunately, I had only lost 2 teeth, so I've maintained mine, but I will teach you what, and so if you're not doing it properly, and that you can teach your children about it. So he decided, after looking after all these diseases, him and his wife traveled to 12 different nations, and they even went up in the mountains where like in Switzerland, where certain groups of people had not been contacted by other humans because there were no roads to get there. They were just building the roads that were recently built, and he went up those, and he went to Peru and New Zealand, many different countries and cultures, and learned a lot. And he tried to want to find out from the people what gave them good teeth, because the people that were having good teeth were also beautiful people and tall people, and these. All this is written beautifully in this book. So let's go on the road. Let's start brushing our teeth. Okay, and so the copyright and the information and the results of his research are now owned by the Price Pottinger Foundation. They're the copyright holder and of the books and the research. You can put that online, and maybe a wonderful thing to look at, because it's also based on some other dentists. So Dr. Price was looking for the wisdom from primitive peoples. Yes. Because some of them had no problems with the teeth, and he wanted to know what they were doing. And so he looked at the primitive stocks and their teeth and their health condition, the good and why they had good teeth, why they were losing teeth. So he looked at the teeth and then took pictures of them, and a lot of them in this book, and it demonstrates it to you. So he was a dentist who traveled around the world, but also was a researcher. In his dental office, he had a research lab on the top floor. And so primitive stock survived. That's survived for thousands of years, but modern society now is declining. Why is this happening? And just look around, open your eyes. You can see that we are becoming unhealthy, and just to pay attention to one of the best blood tests that we could do might be just shimmer your teeth. That if they're missing a lot of teeth, you know the bacteria that are in the mouth that are doing this, but they also affect our brain, our heart, and the rest of our body. So it's a very good test. And this is extremely important, because the nutrition of the parents, even before conception, can affect the development of the child. And when the mother is pregnant, if she's not eating properly, that will affect the genetic script, the genes of the developing infant. Yes, what she's eating, whether she's smoking, whether she's drinking alcohol, what are her habits, whether she's playing music, because the genetic script at conception is only written about 5%. Yes, read books on the epigenetics. We can still write our genetic script, and the type of food that we're eating will help decide the tooth development eye development, hearing in the infant, and so he wanted to look at the primitive people and see how that, and he found that the ones who obeyed the laws of nature, ate food from nature without processing it, are the ones who looked a great deal better. Remember, Columbus landed here, and the beautiful natives he described, but he brought with him viruses, which killed them, but also he brought with him bad foods, but we gave him some bad food too. For example, sugar, which is very destructive to your teeth. So the nutrition of the parents is very important. Dr. Price felt, after all the information he gained, that what we are teaching the children, or what we are feeding the children, I just go to Google and have them show you the school lunch, for example, and I did just that the other day, and I find out that we are giving them sugary foods, juices, for example, milk, all things that have great health effects on the children. When I review the breakfast menu that we're feeding the children in our area and many other areas too, I looked at Chicago, I looked at Fort Wayne, we are creating sugar addicts. Mm-hmm. Look it up. Look it up. This is what we're feeding our kids for breakfast. And of course, because they do that, they're doing what the government is telling them to do, and they get a lot of money for that. But is the money worth making our kids sugar addicts, and their teeth are falling out at a young age, and they're getting diabetes at a young age? I don't think it's worth it. I think we need to change. We need to change. And so he and Dr. Price, Vincent Price, look at primitive peoples and high up in the mountains that had never had contacts with other humans for hundreds of years, and found out they were eating the food from nature and not processed food, and they had beautiful teeth, and he took their pictures and had them smile, and they're in this book. They were healthy, they looked good, they were taller. It was very fascinating, and mind you, he was doing this in the 1930s, yes, and he was very scientific about it and recorded it. So what we are having is a progressive decline of our modern civilization. Look around, look around. People are dying much younger. And the one thing he discovered too was interesting. Certain races, for example, dying sooner, have more illnesses, and we thought it was a racial thing. But he found out and proved that it was not. They're eating different food. Maybe because they can't afford it. In the schools, that some ethnic and racial groups that can't afford the food, and who are feeding them addictive, sugary food, and the dying younger, getting more diseases. Is that fair? Is that prejudicial? I don't think it's fair. And we're spending $3.5 billion a year, and that was when he was published this on health care, so we're spending a lot more now. So every day, a significant number of people can't go to work because they're sick. Younger people are taking more sick days. They're missing school because of it. And dental care is very expensive. And the dentists are not leading the fight in prevention. I'm bringing it up. When their students and the dentists have never read this book published in 1938, you do wonder what's going on. And dental care is very costly. I didn't brush my teeth till I was in college. My parents didn't teach me, so obviously they didn't teach it in the schools. They used to teach it in the schools, many years ago. And when Dr. Price visited, for example, New Zealand, they now and he studied the Mao tribe. They had started to put a dental office next to the school. Not a bad idea, since it's the cause of most of our diseases. That was an excellent idea, and most people can't afford it. A lot of people don't go to a dentist because they can't afford it. Let's kind of switch away from his trip a little bit and talk about dental care and talk about teeth a little bit, so we'll be sure that we get that in. The timeline of tooth development. Primary teeth start before a baby is born, so they're still beneath the gums. You don't see them. When a baby is about 6 months old, primary teeth will start pushing through the gums. The two bottom teeth are the first to come in. The bottom teeth of the primary teeth show up first. That occurs in the first 6 months. A couple of teeth come up. Between ages 6 months and 2.5 years, 20 primary teeth show up. Okay, so at age 6, the teeth are there, but they're going to fall out. They're the primary teeth. By age 6 or 7, a child will have usually lost his part of the primary teeth. Between age 6 and 13, the permanent teeth start growing in. Between age 17 and 21, the last 4 teeth grow in, adding up to 32 permanent teeth. Okay, but we must teach a child to brush their teeth to make sure they get in the habit. I think when the first primary teeth shows up, I think I would teach my child, your child, how to brush their teeth so they get in the habit. Yeah, so they get in the habit, and there's a technique of doing them, which is well described in these things here, is to use a rounding, brushing motion. The other thing, too, that's mentioned is those bacteria that love the sugar, what they're eating, is to brush the tongue, too, because the bacteria are on the tongue. So a rounding motion, and then on the tongue. And I found I've had dental visits should be about twice a year, and I brush my teeth, and they recommend at least twice a day. A good idea wouldn't be after every meal, but we can't always do that. But at least twice a year, brush our teeth for 2 or 3 minutes, and then use some mouthwash, and then use some, before you go to bed, use some flossing. That's little strings between the teeth to get bacteria and food that your brush didn't catch out of there. So at least twice a day, and to do some flossing. That's what I've been doing, and I haven't had a problem with my teeth, a pain or anything now for probably 20 years. Although I go see the dentist twice a year, not a bad idea. And they'll want to take X-rays and ultrasounds, and I tell them I don't, because you get exposed to rays. So I get them maybe every other year. Mm-hmm. They remind me, you had it 2 years ago, but that's your decision, not mine. But what's a tooth? The anatomy of a tooth a little bit. The outside layer is called the enamel. That's the white part. Then the gum tissue is, you see the gums. And the dentin is the next layer that protects the pulp that's underneath, which has the blood vessels and nerves. So that's the dentin, that's the hard part. And then the crown is the part above the gums, and the root is the part that keeps the tooth and nails it down inside the bone. Okay, just to the jawbone, and and then we have the permanent teeth. We have incisors, about 8 of them, canines, bicuspid, and molars. Just the names of them. Some have 2 roots, 1 root, and when sugar starts spreading across the world, we even had slavery to make it cheaper. Queen Elizabeth, if you see pictures of her end of the 17th century, she smiled. She had no teeth. Only the kings and queens and very rich could afford sugar. They even built statues out of them. Their teeth were falling out. They developed diseases, for example, and animals have teeth, but not all teeth. Ducks don't have teeth. Yeah, I'm sort of connected to nature, so I was feeding the ducks and the geese. I'm sort of a nature person. So let's go through the brushing once more in a circular motion. As a good one, you can floss before you go to bed. And there's some, it was determined 60, 70 years ago that putting fluoride inside toothpaste helped kill some of the bacteria. So the tooth book, you can get it online. But it might be a good one to get to let your child to see pictures of what they should be doing. Might not be a bad idea. And it was by Edward Miller, the Truth Book. I recommended another book for a very young child to encourage them to brush their teeth and floss is Why Do I Need to Brush My Teeth by Carissa Simmons. Also very good for your children. It's important. We need to brush our teeth. It avoids most diseases. It makes us look good. We smile and are healthy. And on the last page, it even says here, brushing her teeth made Ivy feel fancy stylish, and your child may be happier because she's beautiful. There are some people that don't smile. Some children don't smile. Some adults don't smile because they don't have any teeth. George Washington had no teeth. He used different objects to make teeth for him, but he smiled very rarely. So this is a good tooth in the book. And in the last book that I'm going to hold up to you here, The Tooth Book by Mark Becerra. Okay. real cheap. You can go to the library and get it for nothing, but you could, just a couple of bucks, $3-4, you can have this book. I think it's very important to hand this to children, but some adults need it too because they have not been brushing their teeth, and you can get a lot of diseases off your teeth. Dementia, Alzheimer's disease, heart disease. Brush at least twice a day for no less than 2 minutes each time. Floss regularly, and don't forget to clean your tongue. Remember, if you feel something strange, tell a parent and see a dentist. If you're having pain and it doesn't go away quickly, I think to see the dentist is pretty important. So I think we gave you, I want to make sure that if that's all you took away from this talk, I'd be very happy. But let's continue on the trip with Weston A. Price, which, as I said before, amazing book. You will definitely enjoy reading that. Maybe hand it to your dentist and lend it to him for a month. If he never read it, odds are he didn't. And as I mentioned, you can save yourself a lot of money because dental care is not paid for very well. There's not good insurance. It's changing slightly, but the cost, I go get my teeth checked every 6 months and have best health insurance around, and they pay hardly anything for my checkup. And if I need an x-ray, it's more expensive yet, $400 or $500 every time. And so when Weston Price took trips, he went way above Canada, Scotland. But what he did is he also was able to be in nations and countries where the dead were buried because of a storm or epidemic, and they had been there thousands of years, been buried, and they pulled them up and looked at them and found no dental problems. They were consuming food from nature. And now we have the field of orthodontics, okay? We now have arch deformities, and we all think it's due to our genes. Well, his research, and we developed the field of orthodontics. He has these buildings, orthodontia written on there, but find out genetics is not the cause of most of those deformities. It's what their parents were eating, and you inherited that through genetic changes that occurred while inheriting the genes of your parents and what your mother was eating when you were in the uterus, type of food she was eating. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so they found in England that when they looked at the teeth of backward children, they invariably had dental problems. So he, in 1931-32, Weston Price went high up on the mountains in Switzerland that had no contact with human beings, with other, and they were eating whole rye bread, red milk, very low cavity rate. Mm-hmm. In the modernized cities in Switzerland, westernized cities, tooth decay was rampant. And there are pictures of the natives smiling right in this book. The proof, the bottom line. but then he visited the islands of the Outer Hebrides. That's behind Scotland, off northern coast of Scotland. These are islands of isolated people, and found these people were tall, strong, normal teeth. The proof. The proof. The Isles of Lewis, another island he went to, 20,000 people. They mainly ate, they were fishers and sheep herders, okay? No trees were there because it was covered, islands are covered with peat moss. Again, normal teeth. And so the modernized Galia, terrible tooth decay. They were eating the Western diet of sugary foods. Scottish men were on the average 4-inch, which ate the modern food, 4 inches shorter in height. They started getting shorter. And but isolated and modernized, he compared isolated modernized Eskimos in 39 locations. Page 54 of the pictures. Again, the proof is overwhelming. Then he compared the Eskimos and the Indian population, okay? They thrived as long as not touched by modern people. Interesting. Interesting. And so there's a decline in physical health. Also viruses, because there's sugar on the teeth, and they have caries in their defects in the teeth, and there's sugar in there, and the viruses are more likely to kill you if you don't have normal teeth. So the American Indians, let's talk about them a little bit. The ones north in Canada live from animal life and plants, very healthy, normal teeth. And also, remember, we talk about viruses and bacteria attacking you if you're not healthy, and tuberculosis, you know, was going around the world at the time. And the westernized Indians were much more likely to die from TB and the viruses that were destroying and spreading through the world. The Seminole Indians in Florida, the Indian tribes there, and when you looked at their teeth, the ones who were largely eating foods from nature had normal teeth, and they were westernized. So nutrition and how your teeth are doing are directly related. He clearly proved it, and you would think that information would have spread across the world at that time, and we now, let's be honest with ourselves, we now have a declining culture. Just look around, look around. I want you to live to be 100, or maybe weigh 135 pounds like me, no illness, normal blood tests, brush my teeth every day, and I've floss. He visited also the Polynesians. They were isolated, no contact with Western food, a few 100,000, and they had no dental illness. So then he visited, and this is a fascinating part, he'd visit the ancient and civilized people of Peru on the western side of South America, and they were their civilizations that had been there for thousands of years. They were isolated. and then the Spaniards, you know, invaded them, and things started to change. But when he found the isolated people that they had no dental disease, no dental disease, and their arches and their facial appearances were normal, and they had burial places, and he got them to for him to examine some of these, and found normal teeth, and maybe 0.7% of the people had some caries, some defects in their teeth. But in the U.S., deformities today are 25 to 75% of the people, and have problems, frankly, with their dental arches, for example. And we all think it's genetics. No, it's the type of food the parents and grandparents were eating, the child is eating. Another book was published called The Bird Islands of Peru. This is the islands of Peru. And they looked at 50 mummies, only found 4 dental caries, 4 little caries. When you think of 50 mummies times 32, that's a lot of teeth. Modern studies indicate that 95 to 100% of the people have some dental caries, some defects in their teeth. Now we speak about a very interesting culture, the Incas, okay? They were very benevolent people. We used to read about them. They had a culture, frankly, that the world needs to adopt, okay? They had no poverty, no want or crime, and they were in good health. Yeah, and you can read about it in this book in detail, that the Incas, there was no poor person. All the land was divided equally. Every disabled person was giving support, and their God was the universe, the stars. That was their religion. What was interesting too in the Vincent Price thing, which I found fascinating, no matter how isolated the culture was, every culture that he looked at, every people that he spoke to had a religion. Not necessarily the same religion, but they had a religion. Mm-hmm. Some have suggested that explains the unknown. I don't know. I'm not giving an opinion, but that they had a religion, I think, is important. And so Dr. Price studied many ancient cultures and found excellent arches and took pictures of their smiles, the bottom line, the best blood test that there is. And so ancient cultures are more healthy because they obey nature's laws. That was his conclusion. So processed food, for example, may not be healthy. So and that determined the physical, the mental, and maybe also the moral and religious thoughts. Mm-hmm. And there are about 18 elements which we need for good health, many in very small quantities. I mean, calcium, phosphorus, iron, you need in pretty good quantities. But he also found that you need them from plants and animals. Some cultures ate mainly animals. So to say, I eat nothing but plants, Well, that's fine, but you're going to be missing certain vitamins, D, B12, certain minerals in the wrong quantities. There's a book out called The Plant-Based Con. Read it yourself and see what you think. I'm glad to listen to your opinion. I'm not telling you to be a plant eater or not a plant eater, but he determined his trip around that some people were 90% meat eaters. Like vitamin D, it's not in plants, okay? And there's some fat-soluble vitamins, which you would need to get from animals, dairy. So Arabs drank the milk mainly from camels. Camels, isn't that interesting? And in north of India, the people consumed a lot of dairy, wheat, and vegetables. They were tall, free of dental disease. It's nice to see the difference. The commonality appears to be from nature, not processed, for example. And then, remember I spoke earlier about New Zealand. They were isolated, modernized, and the Maori, M-A-O-R-A. There was a Dr. Pickersgill, okay, studied them, 250 skulls. So Dr. Price landed there on a ship. And this Pickersgill had looked at 250 skulls, and 0.76% had dental caries. So that's 2 out of a 250. So, and these were beautiful people with great smiles. And then Dr. Price, they made available to him 326 skulls, and he found a 1.2%, very small number again, and he determined then that it's not race that makes it different, it's what they're consuming. Genetics did not determine the shape of their face and the caries. It was what they were eating. So the Britons and the Anglo-Saxons are running at 86 to 98%. But the Maori children, remember we spoke about them, the ones that were under Western supervision, went to Western schools, had a tooth problem rate at 95%, dental caries, holes in their teeth through the enamel. In New Zealand, to impress Dr. Price, the leaders there showed him the schools with the dental office right next door. Yes. It's not a good idea, but it wasn't throughout the whole country. He then traveled throughout the whole country, and things change. The ones that were westernized in the schools, they had dental problems, and the ones that was isolated, eating foods from nature, had normal dentition. But it is fascinating, though, that in New Zealand, that the dentist being next door to teach the children at a very young age proper dental care. Isn't that beautiful? That's what we need to have in our school system. What do we have in our school system? We feed him the school lunches, cinnamon buns for breakfast, juice for breakfast. We're destroying the teeth of the children. We're not educating the children. They used to teach dental education in the schools, but that's gone. And this is happening, I think, largely because the government, which has been bribed by the food industry, and so is our legislators, okay? Next time you meet one, if you can get into their office, most of them are locked, you can't get in there. I've tried it. And I went to Washington, D.C. during one of our medical conferences, and I tried to get into the departments of health. The doors are locked, you can't get in. So our government, our congressmen, our dentists, our medical doctors, they have us captured. Our schools, they've captured us. They've captured us. And they're not going to change. But I think some people might be willing to stand up. I tried to get an appointment with the head of the school system here in Fort Wayne. That was 4 weeks ago. No phone call for the appointment. What does that mean? I don't know. You try to interpret it, because we need to change, and there needs to be leadership. Leaders need to step up. And why am I doing that? Why am I so pushy in doing this? Because I'm a doctor. That's my obligation. That's my job. Okay? And what's nice is, and I'm not patting myself on the back, but I'm an example. 135 pounds. And I exercise. I play pickleball. And you know what I do for relaxation? Because we all get stressed. We eat sugar because we're stressed. There's a donut laying there. Believe me, I doubt that I could resist it. But I know enough not to eat it on a regular basis. Okay? Nature designed us to seek food, and they put some sugar in it. But sugar wasn't available hundreds of years ago every day. But now we can go to a fast food restaurant and eat it every day. Times have changed. But remember what I said. Your organ in your body is an orchestra. 50 different instruments in there. But you are the conductor. You are the conductor. You must gain knowledge, and the Maori people. But as he traveled and looked at isolated tribes, he again saw good tissue. But again, there was Western influence. He saw a lot of dental problems, but they have a way of relaxing too, their tribes. And I'll tell you about the way I do it too. You know, I'm playing pickleball, but I'm tap dancing, yes. And I'm playing good at it. You can tap dance at any age. But this is what the Maoris did, in the villages. Listen to this. Regular exercise. On rising early in the morning, the chief of the village starts singing a song. Yeah. The reason I'm laughing is because I'm doing something similar. I'll tell you about in a minute. And the song is accompanied by a rhythmic dance. And he does it, or she does it, till the whole village swings to it. Yes. And that's why they look so healthy. And their picture is on page 191. Look at some of them. They look like movie stars, but they're just ordinary people. Let me tell you what I do. You wouldn't believe this. And before I did this show, I was going to do it beforehand, but I thought I'll do it afterwards. But I do it almost every day. I moved from a regular house to a house here to downtown Fort Wayne. I decided to stay here because what I'm doing, I thought was more important than living where people don't know anything. It's not about me, it's what I'm teaching. I walk down the street every day, people come up to me. Yes, it happened to me again last night in a restaurant. I got rid of my diabetes. How am I looking, doc? So I am getting somewhere. You wouldn't believe this. A nation of India looks at these TV shows here, and I thank the library for all these shows I've done 15 years. They look on YouTube. Yeah, you can go YouTube, Rudy Kachmann. And they're using their phones, their iPads, their computers, and these shows here go to YouTube within about 10 days, and there's about 700 of them on there. Yes, thank you. Thank you, the library. And they have so much diabetes, the largest number in the world. So they must have a lot of dental problems too. And they use these YouTube shows, and they'll be seeing this one on the teeth. Within 2 weeks, it'll be on YouTube. And to get rid of the diabetes, they can't afford to take care of them. There's too many, not enough doctors, not enough people. The largest number of diabetics in the world. China is number 2. U.S. is number 3. We have a higher percentage. Probably 80–90% of our people are diabetic. And they have many, I'm not diabetic. Well, if they ran a serum insulin, they'd find that it's elevated. Serum insulin is elevated 10 to 15 years before the blood sugar ever goes up, and changes occurring in your body in this 15-year period. You may not have any symptoms, but you're getting vascular disease and things are changing in your body. Mm-hmm. Get a serum insulin, especially the children. Especially children. Their serum insulins, start testing them for serum insulin at age 3. It's a lot easier to lose 3 pounds than 200, okay? But let me tell you something else too. Not just the overweight have type 2 diabetes. Maybe 80% do, some don't have diabetes, okay? Is that you can be thin on the outside, but fat in your pancreas and in your liver, atrophy, okay, atrophy. 30% of normal weight people are diabetic. Get a serum insulin that's elevated, you've got diabetes. Don't say pre-diabetes, that's a bunch of baloney. And start eating right, start brushing your teeth. You won't get diabetes, you live to be 100, and play pickleball or tap dance with me. But now let me tell you what I do, which I still haven't told you about. It's going to give you a laugh, okay? So stress is part of our life, and that's part of the reason we eat sugar. Grab the donut, because that causes our dopamine center in our brain to light up, and we feel good. I'm in heaven. I think I'll have another one. Okay? What I do, I have recorded on my phone about 20 songs, music that I like. You pick music that you like, okay? Where I moved to now, they have a gym, okay? A very nice gym. But they have a room there with a mirror and handles and some light weights. And you can close the door and you're in there by yourself. That's okay. The big gym is outside there, okay? And I turn on the music and I tap dance to it. So my body is moving, my brain is getting exercise with the music I'm playing. At the end, try to add one thing. It could be Tai Chi or Qigong. Add to it so it's constantly growing, and I do this 3-4 days a week, maybe 5 at times. It makes me feel so good. Stress is relieved, and I'm in heaven. Yes. I've had even people try to open the door and join me at the building because they're stressed and they want to join the physical activity. If you can make physical activity fun, wow, then you're more likely to do it. Another one that I found is when I was living in the house, which I sold to move downtown, but you can walk with my apartment building, you can walk a significant amount, and look at nature. Look at the leaves. Listen to the birds. I whistled to the birds. You know what happened? They whistle back. Red-winged blackbirds follow me as I'm taking my walk. So I really put it into some poetry too. You know, sugar's a bugger and a hooker. So, and I will bring this up to you periodically too, because and look at things. That's meditation. Look at the leaves. Look at the animals. I'm surrounded by butterflies, and they're landing on my hat, and they want to chat. and I look at them. I concentrate on them, and I look at the animals, and I watch the tree grow. You know, trees. You know, trees are families. Yeah, look at trees closely. You'll see. Look at the crowns. The tallest one there is probably the mother or the father. And then look at the trees close to them. That's their children. They are connected by their roots. Yeah, I read up on that. The trees are connected by their roots. So the family hangs together and look at their leaves, and they're different kind of leaves, like cotton trees. We'll have the cotton flowing through the air in my new building that I moved to. I noticed that there's cotton in the air, and when I took a walk, I look at them, and I can see the appendages hanging down there full of cotton. And I went on my walk, and I found a number of these trees around me, and pay attention to the animals. So nature and us are connected. Yes. When I lived in the old house, I used to get up early because, you know, I read 2,000 books in my basement. Okay. Yes, 2,000 books in my basement. So I gladly discuss with you, or if people disagree with me, which is fine, just tell me, because I can take criticism, but be prepared, because I've read the 2,000 books, and that's been a problem, moving. What are you doing with 2,000 books? Today, Western University, yes, that has a number of branches, is picking up 80% of my health books, and they're going to create a health center at their university. Am I in heaven? Yes, today I'm in heaven. And they will have a library there with these health books and a TV screen to look at my YouTube shows. Wow, so I am indeed, spreading the word. So I am very thankful for Weston Price book. I hope that you can do the PDF. It would be very cheap. Or I think certainly any dentist or hygienist should buy the book and keep it at home, and encourage that the schools that teach these fields now make this the original book for them to read. But prevention has really not been the main part of medicine or dentistry. But it's changing in this town. People are walking up to me. They're doing it in India, so maybe we can change the whole culture. The school system needs to step up and teach children to eat the right food. I'm a little disappointed they have not talked to me yet. Maybe they never will. That won't stop me, though. I'll keep right on going. But I want to thank you for listening. Why am I doing this? Because I love you. I care about you. I'm a doctor, and maybe as I approach 100, I hope you tap dance with me or play pickleball, and turn on the music, sing a song in the morning, take a walk in nature. And thanks for watching this. I really appreciate it. Namaste. See you next time. I will continue these shows as long as I can talk or sing. Thanks so much. And bye-bye.